Okay, so the hair for Infinity Athletics season 2016-2017. It's the same more or less as last year. I'm going to add in a couple tricks that will make things a little easier. If you're new this season, I'll do a complete run through of how to do it and add in any of the tricks that will make it a little easier. So the style is a braid across the front of the head, and then all of the hair pulled up into a high, straightened, poofed pony. The braid should go from the left side of their head over to the right side. You want to start the braid taking all of their part. Anything that would be considered a bang line should be included in the hair that you're braiding. Best way to do it is to section off the hair that you need to braid so that you can keep it straight. So you want to section off both sides. Come a little bit lower on the right side, but don't come all the way down to the ear because it will be harder to pull the braid up into the top and you'll get a weird bump on the side. So come down a little lower, but not all the way down to their ear. There should be hair hanging on both sides. So once you grab both distances right and left, you just want to make, put your head down, a straight part along the hairline so that it looks clean when you braid it. You want to be about halfway between where their front of their hair starts and where the back of their head is. You want to go about halfway in between when you make that part line. So this is the hair that will be braided. Section that off and then throw the rest of it back into a ponytail so you don't accidentally pull it in. Once you have that sectioned off, make sure you're going from the left to the right. The best way to get it nice and sleek and not bumpy is to put a little hairspray on it to get all these fuzzy ends into the braid. Just spray them down a little and brush them in the right direction so that they're all pulled together for you. Okay, tip so everybody can see. Okay, so here you're just doing a basic French braid. Start with a small bit of hair right at the part edge. Make sure I'm not in the way. Okay. Separate out the three pieces, crisscrossing over and picking up a small bit of hair every time you cross a hair over. You can see that by sectioning out the hair, it makes it easy for you to get a nice, clean, straight area of hair that you're braiding, and you don't pull in pieces from the part that will be our ponytail. You don't want to take huge chunks. You want the braid to be on the smaller side so that it's noticeable, and you just want to run it in the middle of the hair. You don't want it right up next to the front of their head, nor do you want it all the way back where their ponytail will be. You just want to run it straight through the middle of the area of the hair that you're braiding. Okay, so I'm a little over halfway through the braid. So at this point, as we get close to the other side of her temple, we'll start pulling the hair, angling backwards so that you get a smooth edge when you come around to put it up into the ponytail. If you keep going straight across, when you try to pull the hair back in the opposite direction, you're going to get a natural bump in the braid that will stick out that you either have to pin down or live with, or let your athlete get mad at you because her hair doesn't look right and she's mad at you because you didn't braid it right, because they're all so nice and even keeled before they compete. So you want to see, at this point I'm starting to head all the way back towards where her hairline is. Just pulling as I braid. When you get to the edge of the hair that you've sectioned off, just go ahead and continue braiding it regularly. You want to go a decent distance down because you want this hair to stay braided as it comes into the ponytail. So however long that you want to have enough or extra so that you can bring it up into the ponytail and still have it in a braid. So I usually come about halfway down their hair, or at least a distance that you know will easily make it into the ponytail. At that point, I just take and stick a hair tie at the end of it to hold everything together. Okay, if you want the hair to stay in really well for comps, the best hair ties are made by Goody, and they're a rubber band kind of elastic. They don't have that normal like rubber band with a coating. They are a solid rubber band so that they grip the hair better, and the hair isn't allowed to slide out of the ponytail, so it will stay up and tight. Okay, you're gonna have to turn now. Okay. So once I get to here, I just kind of leave the braid pushed forward and separate. The easiest way to get the hair up and nice and smooth is to do your ponytail in sections. If your daughter has a bob or shorter hair in the back and you can't get it into a ponytail, at this point you would just take the front part of the hair like you were doing a some up, some down hairstyle. So if this back hair was short, you would just leave all this down. But even if they have long hair, separating it out like this is the best way to keep everything smooth and pulled tight and easy to maneuver and manage when you're doing their hair. So even like Peyton's hair is really long, and there's not a fear that the back of this isn't going up, but I still do her hair in two parts because it just makes it easier to manage. Okay, look up a little. I know your Snapchatting is so important, but it's easier if I can
So much salt.
have your head up. Okay, so comb everything, make sure there's no bumps, make sure, because this is the part that's going to show, so you want everything to be nice and smooth. Helps to put a little bit of hairspray along it to get any of the little wispies that the kids have pulled up and tight and smooth. So once you have all this smoothed out, I take this braid and pull it up with it, and then take a single hair tie, yes, and wrap it around. So you have the braid and the front part of their hair in the first ponytail. Okay, turn back. Sorry. Okay, so if your child doesn't have long hair in the back, you would just leave it at this point with just the front up, and then go ahead and put the bow in at that part. For everybody else who has longer hair, if you can't pull your kid's hair up, if the back isn't long enough to reach all the way into the elastic, if they have hair that's only mid-back, you can braid it in reverse up the back to get it to hold together. So I know there's a couple of kids that have hair that falls somewhere right in the middle. But for everybody else, at this point, I just want to comb through. Let's Sorry. I don't like when I comb your hair. Comb through the hair, make sure there's no snarls. Your hair's so thick, there's not a whole lot I can do about it for you, hon. Okay. And then, like, Peyton's hair's really thick, so I just kind of keep combing it.
I say just wing it and put it up.
And working it towards a high pony. Smoothing all of the bumps out of the back. Okay, once you have it nice and smooth, go ahead and spray the back. Comb it again so that all the hairs lay down and they're not all fuzzy and everything looks nice and tight and slick. Okay, so then at that point, I only have one grippy. Do you have another one?
Oh, we don't need a grippy.
I know, I'm not using the... Okay. So once you have this hair up and ready to go in the pony, you can do two things. You can either put this in a separate ponytail and then hook them both together, which is usually what I do with Peyton's hair because her hair is so thick. If I make a ponytail here and then wrap the two ponytails together, it's a little easier for my hands to manage. If not, shh. You're just supposed to be the hair. If not, grab the first ponytail you have and the ponytail you just made. And at this point, I typically use 2 hair ties, which I'll get to why I do that in 1 second. Okay, so I pull the hair tight. I try to get the ponies to sit underneath. These are so tight on your hair. We're gonna be lucky if we don't break them.
If we do, I'll just start crying.
Oh, it's gonna be a little tight.
I will cry. We can cut them out at the end. We don't need them. Who cares?
You're gonna break my fingers.
Oh.
You have too much hair.
Why?
Just hold tight for a hot second, girl.
Why hurts so bad?
She's wimpy about her hair. Okay. So, okay, turn forward. Okay, so what I mean is,
Oh my god.
these ponytails are the second ones I put in, and this black one is the first one I put in. So I try to make sure they sit below it because it pulls everything even tighter, which is what you're looking for so that they can tumble without destroying their hair. At that point, you can take this little ponytail out that has the braid and just undo it until it hits the hair ties. Okay, so then you have everything up. At this point, I would spray everything down a whole lot and make sure all these hairs are smoothed in, which you pretty much just press them and force them to go the same way you want, so that everything's nice and smooth. Okay, to put the bow in, that's why I put 2 around the base of the hair, because now she has this big, thick base of ponytail holders, and you can see her hair sits up on its own without even having a bow in it. So that gives the bow a good place to sit up against and sit forward so that the bow doesn't slide backwards off of her ponytail and look like it's flying off her head. So you want to use a couple hair ties in here so that you have a good thick base to hook to. This year the bows do come with a elastic on the back, but it's really not the best way to hook a bow in.
You still have to use zip ties.
Yeah. So all the Team Moms still have zip ties. They usually have the black ones that look like this. You can get them at Home Depot or wherever. I buy white ones because this one and my other one have blonde hair, and the black is even more noticeable. And these ones are thicker and they hold better. So to use the zip tie, okay, so you just want to find the space in the back of the bow, the lowest spot where the fabric folds, and you take your zip tie and feed it right through the center bar, through the one side of the bow and out the other. That way you have a zip tie that you can hook into their ponytail instead of just the elastic. Slide your bum back over here. Sideways, I think. Okay. So when you're hooking your zip tie, since it has the elastic, I would take the elastic and pull it once or twice through the hair so that it's not just dangling behind the bow. Unless you want to cut it out of the bow altogether, you can do that too. But once you have that around the ponytail or out of the way, you want to push the bow down so that it sits flat against their head. And then you're going to take the edge of your zip tie that doesn't have the loop, feed it underneath one of the hair ties. That way, if it starts to slide out of the hair, it won't come fully out because the ponytail holders will hold it together. Feed it through the loop and just pull it so it clicks once or twice. Then you want to take the bow, push it straight down to their head and underneath the hair ties so that it's really flat against their head. And while you're holding it there, grab the other end and just ratchet it closed. That way the bow is sitting as flat to the head as you can get it. And then just make sure you have it really securely zip tied in. That way the bow sits straight up from their head and it doesn't start to tilt backwards and look like it's flying off. Then you just want to take a scissors or a wire cutter or whatever you have and snip the long end of the hair tie or the zip tie off.
No scissors. No scissors.
No scissors.
No scissors.
Well, scissors you do have to worry about cutting your child's hair.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to tease the back of the hair a bit,
Do we have to tease?
I'm just going to do a small example. We're not going to tease a lot. Okay, so to tease hair, you want to leave the hair flipped over the front of the ponytail and start from the bottom moving forward. So you need a teasing comb, which looks like this. It's got the bristles. Instead of a comb like this, you want to have an actual teasing comb. And all you're going to do is take small little sections of hair. You don't want a whole huge chunk, you just want little bits at a time. Okay, so you want a fast drying hairspray so it doesn't stay wet. If it stays wet, it will start to fall flat and gum up. Aerosols typically are the best ones. They have the most alcohol in them and they dry the fastest. So all you want to do is spray the roots a little bit. Give them a second. And then you back comb the hair. Do the back of the hair and then the front edge of the hair so that you get essentially a big ball of snarl at the base. Let it lay flat and just spread it out so it fills in the space. And then you'll go and grab another little piece. Spray the roots. Give it a second. Back comb the back. Back comb the front. You want to push all the way down to the hair ties so that your tease stays right in at the base of where the bow is. And you'll just keep going. When you get to the top level, let me do a couple more and then we'll just pretend it's all your hair because it'll look like enough of it. So you just keep spreading it out and teasing it. Okay, So this is not the end of Peyton's hair, but if we, pretend like this whole mess isn't still here and this is all that she has. When you get to this top layer, you don't want to leave this all snarled and looking crazy. So all you would do would be to hold the base of it so you don't completely destroy the work you've just done. And you just want to use the comb and slightly run over the top to just smooth out your top edge so that the top looks smooth, even though the rest of it underneath is where all the lift is. So you would just smooth down the top edge and then spray the hair and leave it like that. The idea when you tease it is to get the hair about the same level, if not higher than the bow. Alright. So that would be the hair. Obviously the bow will be different colors for different teams, but you'll want the braid across the front from left to right, and then a high pony. So a high pony means that it's right up at the top of your athlete's head. It's not down into the back of their hair. It needs to just be right behind your braid, and the braid should only be 1 inch to 2 inches wide.